I want to focus in now on the San Jose Sharks, and I think
Sure.
I can make two safe predictions here. And I don't
Okay.
like making this first one. I don't think the Sharks are favored to win the Stanley Cup next season. I
Right.
don't think
Yep.
they're favored for that. But I
Yep.
also don't think they're going to finish 32nd like they have each of the last two seasons. So my question is, where do they go this season? Where is that middle ground of somewhere in between?
I've thought about this a lot because I watched a lot of San Jose Sharks games last season, mainly because there was a couple of times in every single game where you got a glimpse of the future, where Macklin Celebrini did something and you went like, I wouldn't have even thought about doing that. Like, there are scouts. I remember talking to one scout about Mitch Marner once, and he said to me, he said, Mitch Marner doesn't make the right play, he makes the better play.
Mm-hmm.
So the play that I mean, Brodie, how many times have you done this? Or for any of your viewers and listeners, how many times have you done this? You've watched Macklin Celebrini and he started to do something and you say, no, 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 that's the wrong. Oh, that's what he was doing.
It's the old Steph Curry in basketball. He takes a
Yeah.
shot where you're like, no, no, no. Oh, yeah, he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, he knows exactly
With
what he's doing.
Macklin, you know what I catch myself with Macklin doing is watching a play saying, wait a second. I need to rewind that. I need to actually give my brain a second to reprocess what just happened and why what he did was such the right idea, to your point,
Listen, you've heard me gush about Macklin Celebrini over and over again. I think he's gonna, he's and probably in short order too, really distinguish himself as one of the best elite two-way players in the game, and is so exciting, such an exciting player. Development is not a straight line, as we all know. It's a bunny hop, and that's why I have a hard time throwing a dart and having it land somewhere I'm comfortable with on what the San Jose Sharks are going to become this season.
Yeah.
Because every time you've seen a team take a step forward, the bunny hop says, okay, now it's time to go backwards 2 steps. Like, that's just development, man.
Yeah.
We're talking about young hockey players and we're talking about a young team. So I don't think that San Jose is going to be team 32, but when it comes to development, I've given up guessing.
Yeah.
When it comes to like where players are going to go, like individual players will take a step back and then 3 steps forward the next season, and then we'll see about players like does Sam Dickinson pop up on this blue line? Is Michael Misa gonna make this team as well? And what is that going to mean for their development? What is it going to mean for the San Jose Sharks? And NHL is a hard league, and just when you think you have hockey figured out, like you look at Michael Misa and you look at Sam Dickinson, like they've got the game figured out in the OHL, and
Yep.
then you get to the NHL, and they're like, I thought I had the game figured out, and now it feels like I'm trying to grab a handful of water. And whoa, hang on. It's not supposed to be like that. So I hate to dodge your question, but I
It's all right.
respect you too much to just give you like a knee-jerk answer is I don't know where they're going to be, because I find I'm really miserable at most predictions, and specifically miserable at picking, what teams are going to do when they're in a redevelopment phase.
Is there a right thing to do? And I'm glad you mentioned Misa and Dickinson. They were next literally on my topic list here. Is there a right thing to do for them? The selfish thing, I think we'd both love to see them with the Sharks and maybe go through some of the paces of, to your point, learning the NHL, sometimes some nights getting burnt by the NHL. That's fine. They're growing players. Is there a right thing to do and develop them and how to take this process? I know everybody's unique and individual, but what's the definition of the right thing to do?
Traditionally for me, outside of elite players who step right in, Macklin Celebrini is
Yeah.
a great example. I'm always of the belief that no one's been harmed by spending time in the American League, ever. And it doesn't matter if you're a first round pick or a superstar. Like I again, like outside of the obvious
Yep.
ones, nothing Celebrini needs to do in the American League. But I really do believe that players need to spend time at the American League. I just think it's healthy for everybody. Like I look at the Islanders and someone like Cal Ritchie, and I'll say like, yeah, he's coming out of the OHL. He's ripped up that league, and he's a really good prospect, and he's going to play with the Islanders for a really long time. But the best thing for him is go play 30 games in Bridgeport.
Yeah.
And then like come up around Christmas time and force the team's hand to make a decision on someone like Pajot because Richie is ready to play in the NHL. There are kids that surprise you. There are kids that'll start the season and look really good, and then keeping up with that pace of
Right.
a season,
Right.
all of a sudden they start to decline, and you say to yourself, is there value keeping this player in this situation? There's a couple of schools of thought. I don't know that Sam Dickinson or Michael Misa have anything left to prove in the OHL.
Agreed. Entirely.
I think they have something to prove internationally at the U20s, the World Junior Hockey Championships,
Hmm.
but I just don't know if they have anything left to prove in the OHL. It's funny. I was having a conversation about this very topic, about these players, with someone who brought up the Shane Wright example with the Seattle Kraken. And it's, play a game and then, scratch for a couple of games, to the American League on a conditioning stint, like that type of model. And then they go to the World Juniors, and then they go back to their junior team before the playoffs. This is in Michael Misa's hands. This is in Sam Dickinson's hands. They're gonna define it. I do think though that it is possible to have too many young players on a roster, right? Too many. I think too many young players on a roster can really do all those players damage. And that's why teams are very sensitive about how they break players in. I don't think that there's one cookie cutter way to handle everybody, but my rule of thumb has always been, unless you are Macklin Celebrini, spend some time in the American League.
Well, it's good we've got the AHL team literally right down the street in San Jose. So you don't even have to go to a different city. You still
And
get to see them play and wear teal. It's awesome, right?
in the new CBA, you actually have to show up.
That's
You
right.
have
That's right. It's an actual
more
thing.
paper transactions, guys.
Yep. Hey, one person that I don't think it's talked about enough with what's going on in San Jose. Everybody focuses on Will Smith, Macklin Celebrini. I know Yar
Oh,
saw
can I
that.
make one point too?
Go ahead.
I should point out too, like you have to be eligible to play in the American. I just want to make sure, like, Marek, what are you talking about? Like, Misa can't go to the American
Right.
as long
Right.
as you're eligible, and that's
Right.
why you'll have like an exemption one day for one team, one player going down to the American League. I don't want to confuse anybody.
The rules get very muddy and messy. I don't want to go too far in the weeds on that either, but I totally
You
get
got
it.
another Sharks prospect on me. I thought you were going to say Musty.
Musty. I almost dropped a Quentin Musty because I can't talk. Tyler Toffoli last year to get to 30 goals again, and a
30.
player, yeah, and a player like it make it sound easy to just be better as he gets older is not something it happens, but it's not common with a lot of NHL players. And to be better on a team that obviously he wasn't surrounded by a playoff caliber team last year. I just think he's at the heart of everything the Sharks are doing. And as much as he may not be around in 6-7 years, I don't know. I'm just saying, he right here, right now, in the next 3 years under contract, he means so much to this team and this franchise.
What's the hardest thing to do in hockey?
Well, win the Stanley Cup.
There is that. I'm talking about an individual, like as a player. You're point Brazil.
Yeah.
Like the hardest thing in hockey to do is score a goal.
Score a goal, right? Yeah. Ask any D-man. Yeah.
Yeah, and like Toffoli's, and I remember watching him in playing with the Ottawa 67s. With Sean Monahan. Remember Shane Prince? Shane Prince was on that team too. And he's just. There used to be an old saying, "You can't teach touch." Right. And now we know that you can teach touch. Like there are ways, pre-shot movement and how everyone can basically shoot now. But there are still some players that you look at and you say, like, they just have the gift. They just have the hands. There are some players that have the ability to take their eyes and put it in the puck. Right. Like that's the hardest thing. Like, and I don't think we talk about this enough when it comes to, players learning how to play hockey at a young age. Like your eyes see something different than the puck does.
Yeah.
Certain players that can put their eyes in the puck and see it from that angle on the blade, et cetera, and the goalie in front. Toffoli's just always been that guy. What is he, 32, 33? Tyler Toffoli, and he snaps in 30 on a team that, at this point doesn't have any guys you look at and say, yeah, that guy's going to the Hockey Hall of Fame. Like that's impressive. But that's one thing that Toffoli has always had, no matter where Toffoli has gone in all of his stops. And I'm glad that he won Stanley Cups along the way. I've
Hmm.
always been a big Tyler Toffoli fan. He can score like flat out. Pencil him in every year, minimum what, 25 goals? Get a 33-year-old maybe scoring 25 goals, and to your previous point, 30 last year for the San Jose Sharks. Yeah, that's it's still the hardest thing to do in hockey. I'm a fan, and I was glad to see him get 30.
Two more things for you. Ryan
Sure.
Reeves, a Shark. Uh, Never thought I'd be saying that, especially how he treated San Jose teams of
Oh,
yesteryear.
oh
So
man.
what's the main function? I know people are quick to remind me that he only dropped the gloves once last year, but I do think that there is an element of, well, if you're going to have a team with a Misa and a Dickinson and a Smith and a Celebrini and even an Eklund, these are younger-ish players around there that you need somebody to just watch over that. It's like having a little piece of security, peace of mind.
Security blanket for your kids. I mean, this
Yeah.
this is a tale that's as old as the NHL. When you're going young, when other teams game plan against a young team,
Yeah.
what's the first thing you try to do? Like, yeah,
Go
we're
right
going to take
after him.
him physically.
Yep.
Here's a kid that's just learning how to play in the NHL. Go right at him. Abuse him, bully him. Like intimidation is still a thing in hockey. It's a rough sport. So I think and I mean, how many we've seen this for decades. You have a young team, you try to provide a security blanket for them. Now, injuries were an issue for Ryan Reeves. He was never a fast skater, so there is a sort of a pace issue with Ryan Reeves. I'd like nothing more just because I think he's a great personality and a wonderful guy too. I'm really curious to see how San Jose Sharks fans react. Like every year, Brodie, someone signs with a team that you didn't see coming,
Right.
major team you don't see coming, and you say like, how is that gonna look? Top of my list is Ryan Reeves in San Jose. Just knowing how Sharks fans have felt about that player for so many years. But first game, someone takes a run at Celebrini, Reeves jumps over the boards, deals with the situation. Bygones will
Yep.
quickly become bygones.
Water will never have flowed so fast under the bridge until that happens.
Oh,
That is going to be.
100%.
Yep.
Brad May signs with the Colorado Avalanche
Yep.
after abusing the Avs with Vancouver for so long. Like, what? Like it
We
happens.
will
It happens.
forgive and forget. Absolutely. Last thing, and just looking at last season, a lot of change, a lot of dynamics going on. It was still a trade deadline where the team was selling, and the Sharks hope to not be in that same spot this year. But there were about 30 games last year, Jeff, that the Sharks lost either by a single goal or two goals, including one empty netter, right? So games that they were in. Now, I'm not here to say that Askarov and Klingberg and Orlov and Letty are all the things that will make that difference and push them over the edge. But I do think a handful more wins can come with that late game experience if, in fact, they can find themselves in close ones again this year.
It's always a good sign. Throw Jeff Skinner into that mix.
Jeff Skinner, yep. Mm-hmm.
I do love me some Jeff Skinner.
Yep.
I mean, I'd rather be in close games than blowouts. The thing about it, and I've always been told by whether it's players or coaches, look when these games are happening. Look when these games are happening when it's like pressure's off, just go play, nothing to play for. A team you're playing is locked into the playoffs and they're just trying to get out of a game without getting injured. How much of an empty calorie game is that? Are those the games, the close games? I mean, you're a lot closer to it than I am. But if that's a trend, if I'm the San Jose Sharks, that's a positive one. That's where if I'm, Warsofsky, I don't have to do the Herb Brooks every intermission in the dressing room. Be like, all right, you know what, I might be losing, but we're in games. And you know what, like that is, it's interesting they bring that up, Brodie, because when you look at teams that are rebuilding themselves, you want to give, and this is why I feel like even for teams that are in the rebuilding phase, even having veteran players around and coming close to making the playoffs but ultimately failing is still rewarding, because you want to make sure that Celebrini and Smith and one day Dickinson, Misa, etc., and all these young players that San Jose has, one, you want them to know what a full game feels like where they're competitive for 3 periods. Not, you know what, we're down one in the first and we're hanging in there for the second, but now that's a 3 goal deficit and the third period is going to be meaningless for us. You want them to feel what 3 periods feels like, and you want them to feel what a full season of competitive hockey feels like. You know, part of the heavy lift is filling your team with, players are going to form the core and nucleus. So when you're a good team, these are your guys. The other is, okay, we need 3 full competitive periods and we need 82, soon to be 84
Yeah.
competitive games, whether we make the playoffs or not. There's still a lot of value there. And that's still next for San Jose. And again, like, I like Sharks, man. I know they don't win a ton of games, but again, like, there are those moments where you start to see the future and you start to see what this whole thing can look like. And for a guy like me, I don't need to cheer for wins and losses. I cheer for, moments, and I cheer for players, and I get my moments when I get my players with San Jose.
Jeff, I can't wait until the sheet is back on that regular basis like it was cooking last year, and you do a great job with it. So hopefully everybody here seeing this is already tuned in to what you'll be doing this season. It's great.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Go
I
ahead.
kept hearing that Sam Dickinson had a great development camp.
Yes.
Is that true?
100%. And it's not that they were doing anything that would assure him a spot like on the roster next year, but it was just, it was body language, Jeff. It was like watching him skate, watching him attack, watching him run through drills. And they did have the prospect scrimmage game. He was good in that. I think a point or two, but again, it's a scrimmage. And it was a very unstructured. It was 5-on-5 for like 10 minutes, and it was 4-on-4, 3-on-3. But the point is just watching him and the body language. It was his second time at Dev Camp, and it just, I don't know, something subconsciously clicked with me to think that, you know what, he's ready. And to your point earlier, he did everything in the OHL last year. There's no more boxes to check. So in my mind, I'm not Mike Greer. In my mind, I think he's got a pretty good spot already.
They won, London won the Memorial Cup.
They won everything.
CHL Defenseman of the Year.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that the list of players that have won CHL Defenseman of the Year is pretty substantial. Your Prongers, your Shabbats, etc. So he joins a long history of and lineage of elite level players here. So I may be biased because I've watched this young man play since he was 14 years old, playing in the GTHL. And again, like I've said before to you and anyone who's ever listened or watched me, I don't cheer for teams. I cheer for players. Sam Dickinson's one of those guys that I cheer for. Really hope that he does well.
I've already comped him as Brent Burns 2.0. He says he doesn't have any reptiles, so he'll be different, but I think he could be the same type of quality and caliber player.
Here's one that I was having a conversation about just with Sam. Just so your viewers understand, like, the London Knights are like the Cadillac of franchises in the entire CHL. It is as close to a mini NHL as you're going to find.
Right.
And as someone pointed out to me, is that, like, go look at the history of trades that the London Knights have made. Dan Fritchie was a big one from Sarnia. He's a second-round pick of the Columbus Blue Jackets, really elite player. They brought him in from Sarnia for their 2005 run. That was an incredible team. Dave Bolin, Corey Perry, etc., Robbie Schremp. But they said the best trade the London Knights ever made was trading for Sam Dickinson and getting him from Niagara. Cost them 3 seconds, 3/3, and a fifth. And for that, they got, a Memorial Cup appearance, a Memorial Cup win, and one of the best, defensemen of, this past generation in the CHL. Home run for the London Knights.
Never forget, the Sharks traded up a couple spots to get that pick, their second overall pick, draft 2 years ago to get Sam Dickinson. So people are hankering for Sam Dickinson. Jeff, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for doing this.
As always, thanks, Brodie. Pleasure's mine.